Hello guys, this is your friend. We are back with a new fanfic. Which is What If Naruto Kyuubi Kushina and May Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Naruto Uzumaki stood right in front of the entire council of Konoha, consisting of both shinobi and civilian parts. With three counselors Homura, Koharu and Danzo sitting right in front of him, with the current fifth Hokage, Tsunade Senju, looking at him with tired, saddened and practically defeated look. Young Genin of Konoha felt of himself many glares and fury of the council, from both the shinobi and civilian sides, with civilians not hiding away the hatred, spite and some kind of dissatisfaction at seeing the Kyuubi Jinchuriki in bandages, with a sling and just barely visibly alive. Sasuke has done a very great number on Naruto, piercing his chest, breaking his bones and injuring Naruto so badly that if it had not been for Kyuubi and his chakra, he would bit the dust before he had managed to knock that bastard out and drag him back to Konoha. And just as he did that, fatigue, blood loss, torn muscles and broken bones finally forced Naruto to collapse at the gates of his village, and the last thing he saw before passing out was Sakura and Kakashi running towards them, followed by Tsunade Ba-chan and Shizune Ne-chan. With that sight, Naruto was sure that he had completed the mission and everyone would thank him, and with those thoughts, he passed out. Unfortunately for the blonde-orange loving goofball, when Naruto woke up several days later, he found himself as an object of unified hatred and fury of practically all of Konoha. Not even an hour after he awoke, Sakura had come to visit him. And Naruto greeted her with a smile and cheer, but all he received were 2 punches in his face and a broken nose, followed by proclamations of hatred, endless berating and statements of Naruto breaking his promise to Sakura about bringing Sasuke back to her unharmed. Naruto didn't have either strength, will, nor opportunity to answer back, before Sakura left Naruto, calling him a demon and a monster. That brought back bad memories of many times when Naruto had been called that way, and along with blood flowing out of his broken nose, tears came as well. The feeling of betrayal and suffer creeping its way into his heart again. Over the course of the day, Naruto had received many guests, and all were worse than the last one. Shikamaru, the leader of the mission and one of the few people that Naruto saw as a friend, had berated the young blonde on his recklessness, brutality and deceit that Naruto had used for so many years, as Shikamaru revealed to Naruto that now everyone knew that he had Kyuubi in him. This revelation came to Naruto as a shock and a stab in the heart, as Shikamaru called Naruto not only an idiot, but also a cheater, thinking that the reason for Naruto's abilities was all attributed to Kyuubi. After he left, the rest of the teams also came in, calling out Naruto on him being a Kyuubi holder and his seeming cheating in everything. It hurt like hell for Naruto to hear them all call him out a cheater, traitor and worse, with the being convinced that Naruto had tried to kill Sasuke instead of bringing him back. Why didn't care for Naruto's side of the story? None of them. With each and every berating and shouting, Naruto's fragile believes in his friends, good of the people and even the will of fire crumbled and eroded away. By the time evening rolled in, almost every genin of his class had visited Naruto and gave him a lashing of his lifetime, with only those that were still critically injured and Hinata not paying him a visit. When the evening came in, Naruto's sensei, Kakashi has finally showed his masked face, and Naruto had hoped that at least he, the man that was responsible for Naruto, would explain to him what was going on and let Naruto speak up. But alas, Naruto's heart sank even further and his beliefs were shattered, when Kakashi, with a tone of disappointment and harshness, told Naruto how he was disappointed with Naruto, stating to him that his mission was to bring Sasuke back unharmed, yet Naruto seemingly went out of his way to lash out on him, all because of the petty rivalry. Naruto listened as this man whom he considered to be the closest thing to an older brother and even father was verbally destroying him, revealing to the young blonde the real colors of Hatake and his endless favoritism of Sasuke Uchiha. Kakashi ended his tirade about the importance of teamwork, how Naruto had went up against everything that he had taught him, and also against the teachings of Naruto's favorite Hokage, the fourth Hokage. With information that Naruto was no longer his student, nor was his secret protected as Konoha Council finally revealed it to everyone in the open. When the Cyclops had left Naruto, young blonde looked worse than ever, with a feeling of his soul being torn to shreds and his heart crushed to nothing. For the first time in years, Naruto had wished that he was dead. When the night rolled in, with Naruto hoping to at least lay down and sleep, he received the very last visitor Jiraiya, the pervy sage and a man that Naruto had admired almost as much as the third Hokage. By the end of his visit, Naruto's opinion had changed drastically, as Jiraiya had expressed the very same disappointment and anger with Naruto as everyone else, with Toad Sage going as far as to admonish Naruto for using Rasengan on his friend to kill him and relying on the demonic fox to fight Sasuke. Just like all the others, Jiraiya cared not for Naruto's critical condition and what Sasuke had done to him. Instead focusing on Naruto's failures. Toad Sage had expressed to Naruto that Lord Third and Fourth would be sourly disappointed with Naruto, especially the fourth, along with informing young Genin that he was no longer a summoner for Toads, as Jiraiya had terminated Naruto's contract. Everything that Jiraiya had said, Naruto simply took in with a blank expression, showing no emotion or anything. Only letting his tears fall freely as the man he once respected was berating him for practically nothing. When Jiraiya left Naruto, young blonde simply stared at the wall with the dead expression and not even will to move anything. Years of berating, beatings, isolation and hatred, and now all coupled with what he heard today from essentially the closest people Naruto had. Everyone has a limit to how much pain and sorrow they can take, and no matter how strong your spirit is, how powerful your will is and how much light you have in your heart. Naruto Uzumaki had always clung to the belief in best of people and that he had those that cared for him, yet today he faced the harsh and cold truth of his life no matter how much he had tried, fought, bled and protected. People of Konoha will always see Naruto as a demon and trash. And with this realization, came the understanding that Naruto's dream of becoming a Hokage was only ashes to him now, because with so much pain, suffering and sorrow that he had experienced, Naruto's soul couldn't hold on to a hope of finding happiness in Konoha any longer. For the first time in his life, Naruto let the long-quenched and restrained hatred for Konoha gain a hold of his heart. It was always there, festering and expanding, like a cancer, with every glare, every beating, berating, bias and more. Naruto had tried as hard as possible to quench it, but now, he accepted the simple fact that he had realized when he was a kid. He hated this place, he hated the Konohagakure and he hated its people for all they done to him. Naruto has had enough and the wall that held back his darkness finally crumbled, with the blonde accepting the cold and harsh reality as it is. The next morning, Naruto was woken up from his dreamless sleep by Anbu and Shizune, informing him that he was summoned into the council chambers immediately. With the help of Shizune, Naruto was able to dress up and get to the place where he stood now. Feeling the collective glares, hatred and resentment from everyone in here, save for Tsunade, Shizune, Kurenai, Anko, Hinata and Anbu guards that were here, as Jonins were also summoned here. Along with heirs of clans and current generation of Genins, including Sasuke, who was looking at Naruto with a victorious smirk and arrogance that couldn't be hidden away even by a Hokage mountain. Out of everyone in the room, Kurenai and Anko Mitarashi were looking at the bandaged and battered boy with unhidden sadness and sympathy, with Kurenai, much to everyone's surprise, practically having tears in her eyes, while Anko was supporting her, while Tsunade simply allowed her tears to fall. Naruto was surprised at looking at them all, but in his mind, he already knew what this was all about and he was already prepared to what was to come. He has had enough of Konoha already and seen how rotten it is for him, so there was little to nothing that they could to surprise Naruto at this point. Genin Naruto Uzumaki, in light of your atrocious behavior towards Konoha, dishonorable actions in the field, attempted murder of clan heir and fellow shinobi of Konoha, Sasuke Uchiha. Usage of A-rank kinjutsu and endangerment of Hidden Leaf Village by releasing kyuubi S chakra, the Council of Konoha has found you guilty of all charges. You are hereby stripped of your status as a genin and a shinobi of Konohagakure no Sato. Your property, valuables and money are stripped of you in order to compensate the damage done by you to Uchiha-sama in this village. Koharu read the verdict, with Naruto gritting his teeth from anger at how all of them have stripped Naruto of all that he essentially had. In addition to that, the Council of Konoha has found your presence in this village and land of fire to be a danger to both the village and our country. Because of that, you are hereby banished from Konohagakure no Sato in the land of fire for life. Should you ever be found within the borders of Hai no Kuni, you shall be executed on sight as an enemy of the state and traitor to Konoha. You have 24 hours to leave Konoha and 1 week to leave the land of fire. Now, lace your shinobi license and your headband before Lady Hokage. Naruto bangs of hair hidden away his eyes, but his entire frame was speaking of one thing, unbridled hatred and fury. The sick satisfaction of civilians. Shinobi Council smirks, the victorious looks of Sakura, Sasuke and counselors towards him, all and far more was making Naruto utterly furious, yet he contained it all in himself. This village has practically destroyed him, making sure to kill him since he was an infant and now it had achieved what it always strived for, while he was stupid and idealistic enough not to see it from the day one. Slowly, with a pain in his muscles and bones, Naruto made his way to Tsunade, who looked at him without hiding away her own pain and suffering. She had initially saw Naruto as small brother, but over a few months, her views on his changed, and Naruto became far more like a son she never had. Tsunade may never showed it, yet it made her heart warm when Naruto called her Ba-chan. Occasionally even a Ka-chan when she was particularly caring towards him. Not long after Tsunade had returned to Konoha and saw just how horribly Konoha has treated Naruto, she tried to her hardest to ease the hidden pain and anger that Naruto had in him, helping him however she and Shizune could. Restoration of Naruto apartment, good food supply, clean water, new and clean cloths and more. And now, this village has destroyed the young blonde and everything that was good in him for this place, and it hurt Tsunade. Hurt even worse when she had lost Dan and even Nawaki. As to her, Naruto was her son. And she was the one to fail him. As she was absent, tending to Naruto injuries, Council took this as a golden opportunity and used it to the fullest, doing its best to exile and destroy Naruto. Take away everything that he had, all right under Tsunade's nose. Tsunade had never hated the village her grandfather and granduncle had built, but after this and what she had found out later on in Sarutobi files, Tsunade truly, for the first time in her life, felt an utter hatred towards this place. Naruto saw the familiar pain in Tsunade's eyes, and only gave her a sympathetic look. Young blonde May hated this village now, but not Tsunade, nor Shizune. They were never the ones to hurt or betray him. No, they were about the only ones to truly help him, to care for him as he was and without any deceit. He may look like a fool, but even Naruto knew that this farce was fully on hands of the council and not his surrogate mother and sister. With a free hand, he took his headband and placed it onto the table, followed by his license on top of it. When Homura was about to reach it with her hand and a sickeningly satisfied look, Naruto slashed a kunai right into both of the piercing the symbol of the village and his license, surprising and shocking everyone, as kunai went right through both objects and table, earning him even more heated glares. Before anyone had a chance to say anything, Naruto finally spoke up. Good riddance, was all that he said, with a voice filled with coldness, hatred and resentment, one that was completely foreign to everyone's ears, with Kurenai, Enko and Shizune breaking down at those words, while Naruto wobbled away from the chambers, not caring for the insults thrown towards him by his former friends and others. Naruto. Right when Naruto was about to leave the building, he was stopped by the voice of Tsunade, making him turn around and see her coming towards him. Naruto, I am so sorry, TB. Naruto simply stated to Tsunade. Surprising her a little. You and Shizune Nei-chan had nothing to do with it, I know it. The council, civilians, shinobi, advisors, I long knew that they wanted to get rid of me. I was just stupid enough not to accept it. I am actually surprised they even allowed me to live. I was ready to meet the executioner S blade, to be frank with you. Naruto, don't say it like that. It s not like you. Tsunade practically shouted at him in shock. I know that what happened here was harsh and it was utterly atrocious, but don't let it get to you. I will overrule them and the why LL regret ever doing such a thing to you, and you LL be back in no time. Ka-chan. Tsunade was immediately stopped when Naruto called her like that, looking at the greatly saddened face of her surrogate son. Thank you. You and Nei-chan for everything. I know that you mean well and want the best for me, but please, just let me go. You and I both know that this village and all of those people, they LL never accept me as you and Nei-chan had accepted me. To you, I am Naruto, but to everyone else, even Kakashi Tem and Jiraiya Tem, I am a disappointment, a cheater, a demon and only a tool to be used and tossed away like a trash. They, Sakura, Shikamaru, Choji, Kiba and everyone else have let me understand it all too well. Tsunade was shocked when she heard of it, instantly understand what had happened. Naruto had been visited by all of them and must they received on hell of a verbal lashing out that it had finally broke her favorite blonde. Tsunade was gripping her fists and topping herself from going right towards all of them and snapping their necks one by one, followed by their parents and friends for doing such a thing. Hell, the first one on her list was her own former teammate, Jiraiya, whom she hated at this moment more than even Orochimaru. He was entrusted with Naruto, had taken him as an apprentice and did this to him. Jiraiya, I hope you already left this village, because if not, I LL personally send you to hell for this. Tsunade mentally swore to herself. And you, Sarutobi sensei, I hope your pitiful soul is suffering in Shinigami S stomach for what you have done to my Naruto and allowed those bastards out there to do to him. If only my parents and grandparents had seen it, if only Minato, my boy, had seen all of you in this, Tsunade thou. GHT to herself with deep sadness as she remembered the fourth Hokage. Arg, screw you all. You may take away everything from my Naruto here, but you won take away from him what belongs to him by his birthright. Nor will I just abandon him, not the second time. To hell with being a Hokage and all of you fucking bastards. Tsunade wiped away the tears and looked at Naruto, pulling out of a pocket a green storage scroll and giving it to Naruto. Naruto, this storage scroll contains water, provisions, medicaments, cloths, money, books, scrolls and a map from Senju vault. This is all yours. Tsunade surprised the blonde when she gave it to him. The food and water will be enough for you to last at least a year, while there is also more than enough money to start a new life somewhere nice. While scrolls and books should teach you what those two bastards should they don't worry or even think about returning any of it. All of that is yours and I won here otherwise. Tsunade said to him with strength. But why? Naruto asked with a shaky voice, shocked at Tsunade giving him so much. Because you deserve it all, Naruto. Tsunade simply said to him, kneeling down to him and pulling him into a warm, motherly hug. With tears again flowing out of her eyes. Why you just stay safe out there, okay? LL send out Katsuyu to you with L letters and if you need anything, just ask, oh okay. Naruto, with a shaky hand and small tears of his own, embraced his surrogate mother. Oh okay. Ka-chan, thank you. Naruto said to her, with Tsunade looking at her surrogate son with a small smile and tears speaking up to him. Naruto, inside the scroll, there is a map with a detailed paths and directions to a particular place they marked for you. I want you to unseal it once you leave the village and far away from it. Tsunade instructed him. When you are feeling well enough, travel to the place marked there. And what are that place? Naruto asked of Tsunade. It is the Uzushiogakure, the land of whirlpools and ancestral home of clan Uzumaki, your clan and clan of your mother and my grandmother. Naruto looked at Tsunade with wide eyes. The place may been reduced to rubble and ruins by Iwa Kiri and Kumo many years ago, but they failed to destroy what is hidden away there, the legacy of Uzumaki and Senju clans. And I entrust it all to you, Naruto. Use it how you see fit. Naruto nodded to her with a smile, before Tsunade pulled out 2 envelopes with the stamps of Hokage on first one and one of Clan Senju on another. Naruto, when you get to Uzushiogakure, I want you to open them. I know you have many questions about both your parents, the Kyuubi and much more, and I hope that in those 2 letters, you LL find your answers. I am sorry, I wish I could tell you all you wish to hear. I really do, but it okay. Ka-chan, I get it. Naruto smiled to her, hugging her one more time before parting with her. I think I will be on my way now. I don't want to spend any more time here than I already have, and I don't want to give them all another chance at lashing out at me. Can you tell Shizune-chan goodbye for me? Of course, Gaki, I I'll even send her to you from time to time with Katsuyu. Tsunade smiled to him. Take care of yourself, Naruto. I will, and, I am sorry, Ka-chan. Naruto said to Tsunade, surprising her. I know how bad this village has treated you and your family, and I am sorry for forcing you to come here. Don be sorry for that, Naruto. Tsunade said to him. Don worry. As long as I am Hokage, I LL keep those bastards away from you. So that they don't get any ideas at getting you back. You just find yourself a life of your own and be happy, really happy, you hear me? Promise me to be happy, okay, Sochi. Naruto was shocked when he heard the woman that had been like a mother to him acknowledges him as her son, before eagerly nodding to her and smiling with tears to her. Good. Now go. And I hop. Ing for the good news in at least 3 years, Gaki. What good news, Ka-chan? Naruto asked of Tsunade confused. Oh, for the love of, about you getting yourself a wife and kids, you Gaki. Tsunade practically shouted at him. Shocking Naruto. I want to have grandkids to spoil rotten, and Senju with Uzumaki one get back without new members, you hear me? Why yes, Ka-chan. Naruto almost winced when she shouted at him. But then he felt the warmth of Tsunade's embrace and how she kissed his forehead. Goodbye, Naruto. Go, and live a happy life. Tsunade smiled to him, as Naruto ted away from her and exited the building. Anbu. Hokage shouted, as 10 of Anbu shinobi appeared before her. Neko, Okami, you LL escort Naruto out of the village and protect him while he leaves the land of fire. Anyone who will try to attack him are to be executed, no exceptions. Make sure that he gets to Uzushiogakure safely. Yes, Lady Hokage, as you wish. Both Neko and her partner Okami responded with clear eagerness and enthusiasm, already leaving to do their duty. Lady Hokage, is it wise to? Bor had tried to speak up, but he was met with a powerful glare from Tsunade and his comrades from Anbu. I mean. What will counsel and advisors say? To fucking hell what they LL say or suggest. I am a damn Hokage and I they had damn enough of their scheming bitching. Tsunade responded to them. Suru. Find that traitorous frog of a pervert and get him in my office in 5 minutes. If he resists or refuses, then do whatever is needed to get him, safe for lethal force. Lady Hokage, a personal request, if I may. Suru, a female Anbu clearly from Sarutobi clan. Can I at least break him a leg, or a rib? I promise, he will be in a coherent state upon delivery. Suru, I they already said to you, if he resists. Do whatever is needed to get him, safe for lethal force. Tsunade could they sworn she saw in Suru s eyes a murderous gleam, though she couldn't fault an Anbu. If anyone is killing that bastard, that s gonna be me. Tora, Taka, you are now on surveillance of Sasuke Uchiha. He tries to even get close to any of the gates or shows any signs of leaving, I authorize you to detain him with extreme prejudice and send him to prison, got it? With pleasure, Lady Hokage. Both responded, feeling especially vindictive for the young blonde who s suffering they witnessed today, leaving already. The rest of you, carry on as you were. The rest of the Anbu nodded and disappeared, with Tsunade seeing Kakashi and Haruno Sakura already coming to see her. Hitaki, Haruno, what do you two want? And be quick about it. Lady Hokage, I wish to ask you to train my genin Sakura Haruno as a medical nin, since, Kakashi had begun with his usual eye smile, but he was immediately shut down. Denied. I will never train this disgrace of a kunoichi in arts of medicine and surgery, never in my entire life. Tsunade harshly and mercilessly replied, shocking Kakashi and Sakura. But, Lady Hokage. I have a perfect control of CH chakra, A and my grades W were at the top of the class, and Kakashi-sensei, Sakura tried to defend her position, but Tsunade didn't give her any room for argument. And I am your Hokage, Haruno, and if I say no, then it stands, period. And as for you two, and that, precious, Uchiha of yours, your Team 7 will now be on D-rank missions for the entirety of the next 6 months. Half of your earnings will be exempt from you in favor of the Konoha orphanage, while Sasuke Uchiha earnings will be only 1/5 from the missions. Additionally, you are prohibited from entering the next 2 Chunin exams. And as for you, Kakashi, all of your earnings from those D ranks and your next 20 C ranks, because you will only stick to them from now on, you earn will be sent to orphanage. Understood. Tsunade gave them the death glare, shocking them. Lady H Hokage, why you can just. I can and I already did, Hitaki, so shut it. And if you think the council will be able to overrule me, think again. Suggest you spend this time teaching your genin some actual training instead of those teamwork exercises, because Sakura Haruno is now on of probation due to her poor record as a shinobi. If within the said month she does not improve her skills, I LL personally boot her out of the shinobi program and deny any appellations about return. And until the probation is over, no other shinobi of any specialization will give her any training. The criteria for completion of the test I LL give you later, Hitaki, so you best get to work, because if she fails, then I will consider it as an evidence of your incompetence as a Jonin shinobi and there will be a suitable punishment for this for you. As for your favorite Uchiha, I LL be placing a special traitor mark upon him, so as to make sure that pathetic excuse for shinobi dosen escape again, and if he does, you know what will happen with him, Don you. Lady Tsunade, you are taking this too far. What could they caused my team to suffer such uncalled for punishments? Kakashi asked of Tsunade, genuinely shocked at hearing this, knowing full well just what a special traitor mark means in shinobi world. Your blatant bias, favoritism, and also your inadequate work as Jonin, shinobi, and self-proclaimed best student of 4th Hokage, Hitaki. Had you really cared for Minato's teachings and followed him, you would ve known by now, that you ve sullied his memory and legacy in the worst possible way. Now, get out of my sight. Tsunade roared at them, making the two scatter away from her. While her thoughts were once again with her surrogate son. Take good care of yourself, Naruto. And I hope you are watching over him, Minato. I am very sorry I had failed you, and I hope you forgive me, my boy. Tsunade thought to herself, as she went towards her office, where she was greeted already by the sight of Saru literally tying up Jiraiya to the chair, while the Toad Sage was struggling to get out. But it wasn't easy with a broken leg and arm. Lady Hokage, as you have requested. Saru pointed at Jiraiya, with Tsunade nodding to the girl and letting her go. Hey, Tsunaheim, what the big idea? If you were looking forward to spending some quality time with me, you should just ask me. Jiraiya spoke up in an insulted, yet perverted way. Just tie me down and we ll. Jiraiya, I am tired of all those hints of yours. Now, what you are going to do is tell me everything you and our bastard of a teacher have done to Naruto, and Kami save you, if you try to sway your way around. I will make you wish you died, understand? Tsunade cracked her fists and was ready to make her former teammate suffer. Tease Tsunade. WHYD Don TUCC calm down and we just sit down in a bar, like we used to. An. Tsunade right leg connected with Jiraiya broke one, and a single kick was enough to shatter the bone even further. Arg. Fine. Okay. I ll talk. Just Don T. Talk. And best pray to your toads I Don T kill you afterwards. Tsunade threatened him with full seriousness. 7 years later. Land of Waves. Land of Waves, once a destitute CK water country under the heel of a mighty tycoon, now is a prosperous trading nation, with ports and markets always bursting with dozens of merchants, businessmen and traders from all over the globe. In all of elemental nations, there is no better trading hub than this nation, no better place to buy something at the best price and quality. And to all of this land of waves and it people who are enjoying their golden age to Naruto Uzumaki, the unjustly banished shinobi of Konoha and a hero of Wave. When the news had spread about Uzumaki banishment, Konoha suffered greatly on a diplomatic arena. Losing diplomatic relations with lands of snow, wave, waterfall and, most recently, Suna, all of whom had connections the knuckle-headed shinobi and viewed him with great respect and admiration. Especially sensitive and painful was the diplomatic blow from Suna, which had managed to regain and greatly strengthen its position after the failed invasion and manipulations of Orochimaru. Gaara, the 5th Kazekage, has taken up office about 5 years ago and has put every effort to regain positions of Suna and strengthen them, succeeding in it, along with proving himself as not just capable, but also respectable and strong Kazekage. He mended the relations between Suna and Iwa, opening trade with them and even signing up a defensive pact with them, effectively ending the previous one with Konoha in favor of establishing better relations with Iwa, Wave, newly reformed Kiri and even Kumo. That blow to the pride and prestige to Konoha is still very fresh and won't be forgotten anytime soon, that is for sure. And while most of the elemental nations were enjoying a period of relative stability and peace, currently in the land of waves, things have suddenly taken a turn towards the slight instability. When 2 persons wearing black cloaks with red skies on them appeared in the capital, causing destruction and chaos right out the bat, causing people to run for their lives or become a cannon fodder for the Akatsuki. Usually, members of the elusive Akatsuki act with restraint and stealth, yet this particular pair has traveled all the way to the wave for a specific reason: collect a very hefty bounty on Hanzo Hattori. An S-rank Ronin, a shinobi without a village, but not a nuke nin, who had played a critical part in Kiri***'s civil war, as well as in Mizu***'s civil war, which swept through country when 4th Mizukage murdered Daimyo and his entire family. Once a relative unknown, Hanzo appeared in Kiri over 6 years ago and steadily became one of the deadliest allies of current 5th Mizukage and current daimyo of Mizu, Ieyasu Tokugawa, earning himself titles such as Karigakure no Oni and Kage no Shi, first one earned after Hanzo single-handedly killed over 150 Kiri***s shinobi, within an hour. And second after he killed the 4th Mizukage in single combat. The war had ended about 4 years ago, yet Hanzo continued his work as Ronin, providing his services to first the rebuilt Kiri, then Kumo, later Iwa, and then to Suna, earning himself a reputation as a reliable, honorable and resourceful shinobi. Konoha had also tried to offer him to come to their village and work for them, but, much to their dismay, Hanzo refused every time, stating that he wanted nothing to do with them. Toad Sage Jiraiya had tried to track down Hanzo once, but only ended up drawing to himself attention of Iwa***s and Kumo***s shinobi corps, who were all too happy to repay their debts to Hanzo. Only about 2 years it became known that Hanzo presides in Wave, which is where Akatsuki have decided to go and get the elusive Ronin. Kakuzu of Jongu and Hidan had thought that Hanzo***'s reputation was exaggerated and he would be taken down by them easily. They were proven wrong, badly, as Hanzo CKLY appeared before them and somehow not only transported them out of the center of the capital and onto a clearing, but was overwhelming the pair and driving them both to their ends. Kakuzu had already lost 3 of his hearts and was running low on chakra and endurance, while Hidan had been incapacitated by Hanzo early on by a very powerful genjutsu of some sorts. Kakuzu had tried to get to Hidan and break it, but it proved futile as Hanzo intercepted him and it cost him 2 of his masks and hearts already. And now he is stood in his long-range form with stitches all over him, while his opponent, dressed in a black sleeveless samurai shirt with red trimming on its edges, underneath which was an armored torso plating, with a black mesh bodysuit, shoulder and wrist guards on them, while hips were protected by samurai-like light armor with a black anbu pants, leg guards and closed boots. On the back of the shirt was a symbol of a raging red tornado made in a way of red 7-pointed shuriken surrounded by numerous handless blades. Hanzo himself possessed black, with a bit of silver, spiky hair, with a tail behind his head and 2 spiky bangs on either side, blue, closer to silver, eyes a black featureless face guard that covered all beneath the eyes. In his hand he held a katana with a black handle and a slightly longer than usual blade, while the additional sword rested on his right hip. Hanzo looked at his battered opponent, sheathing his sword and speaking up. From what I can tell, you only have enough chakra left for 4 more minutes in that form, no less. Hanzo noted out, looking at Kakuzu. I can simply stall you until you run out, but that would be too risky on my part. True enough, and I can take any more risks. Kakuzu sent out his stitched arms right towards Hanzo, using it as a diversion, while his hidden lightning mask deals the finishing blow from behind Hanzo. Hanzo saw the stretched arms making way right towards him, but he also sensed how Kaku's last mask was charging up its blast from behind and shooting at him. Deciding to finish this fight, Hanzo swiftly made a series of 4-hand signs, channeling out of his body chakra. Wind style. Rasenkas. Hanzo mentally said to himself, as the wind particles, charged up with his chakra began to spin around him, forming a dome of lightning-fast microscopic blades that shredded Kakuzu's arms and stitches into nothing, along with protecting Hanzo from the lightning blast of Kakuzu's mask. A mortal bounty hunter roared in utter pain, as his arms were destroyed and he lost any ability to cast his jutsu. As the dome of Rasenkas dissipated, Hanzo turned his attention to the last mask of Kakuzu, disappearing out sight for a second, and reappearing right in front of it, followed by a quick series of signs. charging up his chakra. Wind style. K's no Yeba. And from Hanzo_'s palms flew out invisible small discs of wind, swiftly striking the lightning mask and shattering it, with the rested_'s stitches falling apart. Hanzo turned his attention towards Kakuzu, who was already trying to escape from seemingly unbeatable opponent, literally running in the opposite direction from him. Damn it! I haven't been so soundly beaten since Hashirama Senju nearly killed me. That Hanzo is nothing like the Amekage one. It like I was fighting Itachi Uchiha without Sharingan, but with Kisa. Me_'s endless supply of chakra and speed of 4th Hokage, damn it. Kakuzu thought to himself, as he ran past his still entranced partner, leaving him to his fate. I need to inform the leader that we might have a serious problem with. Kakuzu_'s train of thought had been stopped, when he suddenly saw Hanzo standing right in front of him, and charging what seemed like a spinning ball of pure chakra with fire coursing through it. Should _they ran when you had the chance, bounty hunter. Fire style. Resentayu. Hanzo simply said, as threw the flaming ball of chakra at Kakuzu. Once the sphere had connected with Kakuzu, it immediately expanded around Kakuzu, engulfing him and burning away all that there was of him and everything there was in a radius of 2 meters, including grass, leaves, trees and even stones and ground. Like a small miniature sun, in honor of which it was named. Once it had dissipated, Hanzo let out a sigh, seeing only the glass floor where once was Kakuzu and nothing more. One down, one more to go. Hanzo simply said to himself, moving towards Hidan, who still stood immobilized, with only his face giving away the twitches and microspasms, with his 3-bladed scythe laying down. Another one of Jashin fanatics, like I haven had enough of you in Mizu no Kuni. Hanzo, in a swift motion, grabs his left katana and easily, with the speed of a lightning, slashes Hidan_'s head off of him. Breaking his genjutsu and letting the dismantled body fall onto the ground. What the fucking shit piss did you do to me, you bitch? Hidan immediately shouted at Hanzo, seeing his head laying on the ground and his body near him. Do you know what I do to you when I get my hands on you, you? No, because you have a chance. Hanzo took out of his shirt a black featureless scroll and opened it up, revealing a very accurate and strong sealing encryption on it, making a series of one-handed seals. Uzumaki's secret fuinjutsu, demonic void prison. And as Hanzo said that, a black demonic hand reached out of the scroll and grabbed a hold of Hidan_'s head, pulling it inside of the scroll, with the symbol of Oni appearing in the center of a circle after the sealing was complete. Before Hanzo closed the scroll and put a powerful protection seal upon it, so as to prevent its opening. Taking away the scroll, Hanzo let out a sigh that carried a bit of tiredness in it. As while it may been a relatively favorable fight on his part, it was still a tough one nonetheless, especially considering that those two were from the Akatsuki. He was counting himself lucky today that he faced off against Kakuzu and Hidan, who had long managed to establish themselves a fearsome reputation in Underworld and all across the elemental nations. It is always easier to fight off against the enemies that are famous, since their abilities are known at least in scarce details, and those two weren't the stealthiest lot, so Hanzo, knowing that he would eventually become a target of the Akatsuki, prepared himself for an occasion. Still, he was extremely lucky that they not only were among the weaker Akatsuki, but also underestimated him badly. However, while he may won this match, their appearance here means only one thing for him and his family. Their LLB others, and next time they LL probably send someone of a better skill, much better. Hanzo thought to himself, as he made a series of hand signs. Fire style. Ao Inden. With that, he spit out of his mouth a flame of blue fire and engulfed with it the body of Hidan, standing over it and watching How the dismembered corpse turned to ashes and never to return. Considering that a single Ronin has managed to kill both Akatsuki members at the same time, they will most certainly send those that are the most proficient and dangerous to deal with. And since I don't know who is at their top, yet, I can only prepare for the arrival of Itachi and Kisame, and either of the two could easily kill Kakuzu and Hidan. So it won't be a walk in the park with them, especially not with Itachi. And worst of all this, we have move out of here, and soon. Hanzo let out a second sigh, knowing full well what a pain it's going to be for him and his family now. Well, point standing around here. The girls must be going crazy with worrying out at home. And with that said, Hanzo disappeared in a flash of black and red. Hanzo's house. Appearing in front of a two-flowered wooden house, a relatively modern-looking one, but not an excessive or too expensive-looking either, Hanzo removed the face guard off of him and went straight to the door. Opening it up, Hanzo was immediately greeted by the sight of two women, both looking ready for a fight, but immediately relaxing at seeing him. The first one was a young beautiful-looking blonde woman with long blonde hair flowing freely, dark eyes and red lipstick, wearing a short-sleeved black and purple blouse and black pants, both of which had a design similar to clouds on them. The young woman relaxed, seeing her husband, as her nails shrunk back, and two blue flaming tails disappeared, smiling with a relief at him. The second woman had long, bright red hair and large, pupilless eyes. She wore an elaborate, high-collared white kimono with the Uzushiogakure symbol on the back of the obi which was tied around her waist. Her hair was bright red, long and spiky, and reached to her waist behind her. She too had calmed down and went straight ahead to hug her husband, along with the blonde woman, speaking up. "You are here," she simply said to him, but with care and love in her voice. "You should let us both go with you, and who would stayed to look after the house, after Yusaka and Masamune, Kurama?" He asked of his first wife, Kurama, or otherwise known as Kyuubi no Yoko, who stood in her human form, which she modeled after her first host, Mito Uzumaki, whom Kurama greatly respected, loved and admired. "You would killed me if something happened to either of them. And you know it. Still, leaving us out here in dark," spoke up Yugito Ni, a former kunoichi of Kumogakure and Jinchuriki of Nibi, declared long dead after her own battle with the Akatsuki 4 years ago, but saved by the man who holds her now. "We could left Matabi with them and go with you." "Mo, don you talk like that, Yugi-chan. I too was worried, sick for our Naru-kun here and wouldn't leave him out, but kids are also important." Came the voice of a young beautiful-looking woman with black and blue hair, wearing a sleeveless blue dress with a black pattern on it, showing off her figurine and tattooed legs and arms in pattern of stripes, with right eye of yellow and left of green, and with seeming tattoos of cat whiskers, rushing towards her husband and hugging him. "Naru-kun, tell me, are those?" "Yes, Mata-chan, they are gone, and they won't hurt either of us here, nor our children," said Naruto Uzumaki, once a former shinobi of Konohagakure, a Jinchuriki of Kyuubi and betrayed by the very people he swore to protect, now known to most of the world as Hanzo Hattori, husband to two Biju and another former Jinchuriki, father to T.wo children and one of world strongest and most dangerous shinobi. And I won let them, never. Throughout 7 years of his life, Naruto has went through a lot of things, having grown, both in height and personality. Maturing in the harshness of the outside world, gaining wisdom in life and knowledge of his ancestral clans, Uzumaki and Senju. He went through one hell of a journey before he got where he is right now. And his first stop on that journey was Uzushiogakure, the ruins of once mighty and proud hidden village of Uzumaki clan. At first glance, Naruto didn't believe he would gain anything there, but Tsunade was right. As she had left him instructions to him on how to get to one place that Uzumaki had preserved the most. The hidden temple of Sage of Six Paths, where the most Valua BLE and precious things that Uzumaki had kept, something that all nations in the world craved, yet only Naruto had access to the great Uzumaki library, housing hundreds and hundreds of scrolls, books about ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, kenjutsu, and the most valuable of them, fuinjutsu. The knowledge of over 10 generations of Uzumaki, Senju and even Utsutsuki Hagoromo himself was at Naruto's disposal. With a determination matched only by his desire to learn, to grow stronger and surpass what he once was, Naruto took to all of it like a fish to water. While for the most people it would take 100 years to learn what Naruto had learned, for him it was only a couple of years, with his shadow clones, natural talent to learning things, Uzumaki blood and Kurama's help, who, despite Naruto's initial disbelief, was not just friendly with him, but also very much interested and adoring of him, caring for the blonde very much. The reasons to that, along with a great number of revelations about Konoha. His past and his time in Konoha came only later, practically at the end of his stay in Uzushiogakure, and they had only cemented what Naruto had made himself into, transforming a blonde, loud-mouthed idiot into a true definition of shinobi, with knowledge and legacy of his clans in him. When he had left Uzu for the world, Naruto was far smarter and more mature than before. Knowing T had as a Jinchuriki he would be prime target not only for Akatsuki, but also to other villages, Naruto changed his looks, getting rid of his whisker marks completely, changing his hairstyle and color, cloths and even personality. Creating who would eventually be known as Hanzo Hattori, a ronin that helped put an end to chaos in Mizu no Kuni, earned a reputation of one of the most feared shinobi on the continent and more. Naruto didn't think he would end up becoming who he is now, but he was glad that he did, as he helped put an end to 4th Mizukage and his reign of terror, with Ieyasu Tokugawa unified the collapsing nation. Saved the 3rd Tsuchikage from an assassination by Han, a fellow Jinchuriki that went rogue, gave Gaara peace with Shukaku through modifying his seal to the same level as Naruto and not to mention many various things he has done to Kumo, Iwa, Suna, Kiri and others. But probably the most important things in his life that he had achieved were falling in love with Kurama, Yugito and Matabi, and fathering Yusaka, his and Kurama's daughter, and Masamune, his and Yugito's son. With the absolutely extensive knowledge on Fuinjutsu from Uzumaki, texts of the sage, of the 6 paths and medical colossal knowledge of Mito Uzumaki and Hashirama Senju, Naruto had found a way to let Kurama be free without dying. He freed her of her prison in him, but he is still connected with her nonetheless. Capable of drawing her chakra trough the link they share. By the time it happened, he and Kurama had long fallen for one another and Kitsune didn't hesitate to marry her former jailer, taking a form closest to her spirit and fancy. Soon after that, Naruto and Kurama had rescued Yugito from Kakuzu and Hidan, and the former Kunoichi of Kumo stayed with them, for she was badly injured and considered dead. Soon after she recovered, the former Konoha nin grew on to her and she fallen for him, as did her own tailed beast, Matabi. It was awkward at first for Naruto, but he accepted them as well, and so, after freeing Matabi, they became one big family, that soon grew in number, with Kurama giving birth to Yusaka and Yugito giving life to Masamune. The fact that Kurama was pregnant was a shock to all, including her, but it would seem when Sage of 6 Paths gave birth to tailed beasts, he granted them ability to become humans at will, and it came with the possibility of giving births to children. Never in her life had Kurama been happier than when, with the help of Tsunade, she delivered Yusaka and held her tiny baby in arms, with tears of happiness. Mama, Papa, just as Naruto had thought of. A voice of a 4-year-old little girl dressed in a yellow and black kimono, with golden eyes and long golden hair, came down from her room, followed closely by a little 3-year-old boy with short blonde hair, eyes blue and dressed in a blue shirt and white pants, looking at their parents. Are the bad people gone? Yusaka asked innocently, with Kurama moving to her, while Yugito went to her son, both kissing and comforting them. Yes, my little kitsune, they are gone and one T hurt neither mommy or daddy, or your little brother. Naruto said to Yusaka, going to her and Masamune, kissing their foreheads. Now, let S see what your mommies have cooked up for us, shall we? Evening. Just as the children had went to sleep, Naruto and his wives came together in the guest room, knowing that they need to discuss something very important. They didn't want to scare kids, so they waited until they were asleep. And now, when there was no one to interrupt them, Kurama decided to begin. We all knew that this would happen eventually. Kurama said evenly. Akatsuki are starting to move and it's clear that we are their target. Kakuzu and Hidan didn't know about me being your Jinchuriki. Nor about you, Yugi-chan, or Mata-chan. They were here only because of the bounty on my head. Naruto clarified, with Matabi and Kurama breathing a sigh of relief. But, now that both of them are dead, I imagine Akatsuki will send their best after me. After all, there is a guy who had single-handedly killed 2 of their members. Had I been them, I wouldn't let it slide that easily. And considering they know where we are, it only be a matter of time before they come here with big guns. As strong as all of us are, I do not want to take any chances, especially Ali with our kids lives on the line. Me neither. I shudder at the thought of something happening to Ma-kun or Yusaka-chan, Yugito agreed. In that case, we have to decide where to go. Obviously staying here is pointless. And any other small nation is a no-go either. Our only options are the Big Five and their hidden villages. Kumo is out of the question, since they reseal Mata-chan in you. By force and it will be back to square one for you, Yugi-chan. Naruto saw how his wives agreed with them. While Raikage and I are on good relations, I wouldn't put it past him to stab me in the back and use us all for his own benefit. Iwa is a no-go as well, especially considering the fact of Onoki using Akatsuki to his own benefit and give him Nibi, Kyuubi, their Jinchuriki and their children. He is just as old as he is spiteful, prideful and eager for revenge after the Third War, so he use us, no doubt about it. And as for Konoha, Yugito and Matabi clearly saw the looks of hatred on both Naruto and Kurama. No, never. I won those scums get even in 100 miles radius to me, Naru-kun and our children, not after what that bastard third and his frog apprentice did to us. Kurama said with strong anger in her. I never held any ill against them before. I understood what Mito had to do. With Kushina, it was hell and she was nothing like Mito-chan, always so, I had more than enough reason to hate her. But all of that doesn't even compare to what those bastards have done to Naru-kun, and how they banished him. Had it not been for Yusaka and those few that are grateful to in Konoha, I would gladly level it to the ground already. So far, Konoha and the rest of the world think that Naruto Uzumaki is dead, and it best that way. Aside from Tsunade Ka-chan, Shizune-chan, Enko-chan and Kurenai Oni-chan, I do not trust any of them, especially the council and advisors. Naruto stiffened up when he remembered them all. And if they find about Yusaka and Masamune, what Hiruzen and Jiraiya did to me will be nothing compared to what those bastards do with them. Hell, I would pay money to see Kurama go at Konoha. Which means that our options are Suna and Mizu. Matabi stated as a matter of a fact. Both options are nice and good, and while I don't mind the heat, neighborhood with our one-tailed brother doesn't sound too well to me. We all know how he is. Especially around me and Kura-chan. He is actually really docile now, Mata-chan. Gaara even says that Shukaku is like, stoned. Naruto found the right word. But, eel people in Suna are nice and Gaara is practically my best friend. Mizu is actually the best option. Ieyasu knows me and long has offered me a position at court, Mizu shinobi respect me, plus we have a house in Kiri in the capital there. Quote, not to mention Mei-chan is also there, Matabi added up, getting a mock glare from Naruto. Oh please, we all know how much she loves you, Naru-kun, not T. Oh mention she adores the kids like she s their mother, not to mention she is all for sharing the love. You are just determined to get her on board with this, Aaron tu, Mata-chan. Naruto rhetorically asked of her. Knowing the answer not only from her, but also from Kurama and Yugito. Alright, we LL first settle things with Tazuna, talk to kids and, suddenly, out of the blue, Naruto stiffened. D up and immediately darted to his swords and face guard, putting it on and his armor in matter of seconds. Someone unknown is approaching the house right now. Kura, once I leave, activate barrier, Yugi and Mata, kids are on you. I LL be back fast. Naruto said to them, putting on his game face and teleporting out of the house in a black and red flash. Front of Naruto S house. Flashing back in the world under the shadow of the trees. Naruto scowled, looking at the intruders. In the last 7 years, he has faced off against tailed beasts Jinchuriki, armies of samurais, shinobi of every rank and many numbers, Kage and more. Naruto had survived and prevailed through all and more, but this is the first time that he was actually surprised the very gall of the intruders. Coming right in front of his house. Thinking like they have the right, well, looks like it S time for Hanzo Hattori to teach certain someone S a lesson in humility. Jumping off of the tree branch, Naruto stepped out into the moonlight and spoke up. Not many dared to come to me so openly, much less survived. Naruto spoke in cold and emotionless way, eyeing the intruders. Now, state your business, shinobi of Konoha. To what do I owe the displeasure? Right in front of Naruto stood the entirety of Konoha S11, now promoted to the Chunins, some to Jonins, all grown up and prideful, standing right in front of Naruto. He saw familiar faces of Rock Lee, who had called him out as unyouthful cheater and deceitful demon, Shikamaru, who berated him for what he has done to bring the precious Uchiha back, Kiba, Shino, Tenten and more. The ones that were most interesting to him were Sakura, who looked just as she used to, only older and more mature, but overall, just as pitiful, pathetic and arrogant as ever. Naru, to blame third and Jiraiya for making him develop a crush on her, due to certain reasons. And the next one who was interesting to Naruto was the man himself, Sasuke Uchiha, fully grown, sporting the same duck butt haircut. But now with a special traitor mark displayed on his right side of the face. Not only a leash, but also a brand, the mark to everyone, that this man had betrayed it S village and everyone must know it. And if he ever decides to do it again, he won live long enough to regret it. Along with the former Genins, Naruto saw their former Jonins, scowling at Guy, Asuma and especially Kakashi. Only Kurenai, the only person here, whom Naruto was actually happy to see and wished to only talk to her in private, yet. Hanzo Hattori, Shinobi no Akuma and Kurigakure no Oni. Kakashi, I could only see a slight nod from the man standing in front of him. You have made quite the reputation for yourself. The man that has massacred clans of Oda, Saito and over 100 shinobi in 1 hour. Only my former sensei was capable of such feats. Fourth Hokage was a true shinobi no kami of his time, I am contempt with shinobi no Akuma. Now, what do you want, Konoha? I do not like to do business with you, so be quick. Naruto placed his hand on his sword, seeing how most of the former genins already went into a fighting stance and even a genjutsu was sent his way. Word of advice, ha. Runo. Pitiful genjutsu like yours will only aggravate me more. You have 3 minutes to state your business and get out of here. Or what? You honestly don't expect to defeat all of us here on your own? Kiba boasted loudly, with Akamaru barking up in agreement. You may be famous and all, but there no way you can take me down. 2 minutes and counting. Naruto simply stated, not fazed by the threat. Kiba, silence yourself. We are not here to fight. Kurenai glared right at him, turning back to Hanzo Hattori. Hanzo-san, we come here not to fight, but to negotiate. Our Hokage, Lady Tsunade Senju and Council of Konoha, wish to make contact with you and invite you and anyone you wish to bring with you to Konohagakure no Sato. There is a dangerous group known as Akatsuki, all S-rank, one-tailed beasts. One of them is Itachi Uchiha, the man that massacred his own clan. Naruto took a small moniker of pleasure at seeing the scowl on Sasuke's face. Heard of them, met them, GHT and killed a couple of them most recently. Naruto saw the shock on their faces. Your perverted frog ISN the only who has been doing their homework. You want my help in taking care of them, but why should I even bother? As far as I know, your Jinchuriki has long died, so, technically, you are in no danger. That is where you are wrong, Hanzo-san. Naruto heard a new voice, and saw how the crowd of genin stepped a red-haired woman with violet eyes, dressed in a Jonin uniform and with an Uzumaki family sword on her hip. Out of sheer sight of her, Naruto scowls and barely restrains himself. My name is Kushina Uzumaki, and my son, Menma Namikaze, is the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi, and ask of you to help me protect him. Spoke up Kushina Uzumaki, the woman that had given birth to Naruto and abandoned him in favor of his twin brother, Menma Namikaze. Once, Naruto had dreamt of several things to have, as an orphan. They weren't as grandiose or audacious as one would think of him, no. Before he dreamt of being a Hokage. He wanted something that he had longed for throughout the entirety of his life. And that was to have a family, to be loved and cared, to have parents that support and protect you throughout your childhood and guide you to adulthood. Every orphan dreams of it, and Naruto was no different, longing for having a family, parents and be loved and cared. To be rid of the constant loneliness. To feel the warmth of mother's embrace, to be proud of a father praising him. Yet, Naruto was devoid of it all, never to feel it. And it wasn't his choice, not by any means. Since this was the decision made by the very woman that stood right in front of him, the woman that had given him birth and was supposed to have nurtured and protected him in this world. But instead, she abandoned him in favor of his twin brother, leaving him out in the cold, harsh and unforgiving Konohagakure no Sato, to be used as Jinchuriki, manipulated, used and practically destroyed. As a breathing feeling human being not just by its counsel and Danzo, but also third Hokage and his only loyal apprentice Jiraiya. And all of that, all the torment, suffering, loneliness and more, it all started with Kushina Uzumaki abandoning her firstborn son and never looking back. It would surprise many, but Naruto had long known about his mother and twin brother, for over 7 years to be precise. It was an utter shock for him. To read from Tsunade's letters about his origins, his real parents and what had happened to him. Finding out that Naruto was not only the son of Minato Namikaze, but also of Kushina Uzumaki and that she purposefully abandoned him was not just hard, it was an absolute nightmare for Naruto, especially considering the reason as to why Kushina had done so. And that Isin had made Naruto truly hateful and resentful of any notion that such woman had given birth to him and his father, Minato Namikaze, fourth Hokage and one of the greatest shinobi in history, had ever fallen in love with her. According to Kurama, who had maintained her constant control over her second half sealed in Menma, Kushina, delusional after the attack of a masked man, childbirth and release of Kyuubi, had for some reason believed that her husband's sealing worked wrong on Naruto. She didn't even properly examine the seal on him, already believing that he husband had not just sealed inside of Naruto half of Kyuubi's power, but also Kyuubi's soul and that it had taken over Naruto's body. Granted, it was partial truth, as Naruto did end up with the soul of Kurama in him, but she had never tried to control him, and According to her, his father S seal wouldn't T even let her pump out any of her chakra, even in minuscule levels, unless Naruto needed it. But, to Kushina, a sealing mistress of Uzumaki herself, her firstborn son was lost and she simply threw him away from herself, leaving the Konoha for Fire Capital to train and raise her only true son, Menma. When Naruto had first found about it, he was livid, absolutely furious, and had even lost control over himself, resulting in him pumping out more and more of Kurama-S chakra, going so far as to literally allow it-S chakra to take over him. He would destroyed the island of Uzu and unleashed Kurama out had he not been stopped by someone he did not expect to meet. Flashback. 7 years and 4 months ago. Naruto S mindscape. Naruto. Stop this. If you pull any more of my chakra, you die. Please, Naruto-kun, calm down. Kurama was desperately pleading for her host and poor soul to stop what he was doing, but it was all for naught. And the giant fox was forced to look from her cage how the walls of Naruto-S mind and seal were getting destroyed. That woman, abandoned, alone, I will kill her. Naruto roared inhumanly. More and more chakra of Kurama being unleashed in the real world and his body already transforming into a vessel of red chakra with fox tails starting to come out. Naruto, please, I beg you. Kurama was looking how her host was about to lose his life, and even though with the destruction of this seal she would be free, she did not wish to witness her first friend S death. Damn you, Kushina, Naruto, stop this. Or you will. Naruto, that is enough. Suddenly, a new voice came from the folds of the Naruto-S mind, snapping his mental projection out of his rage for a second. That split second was more than enough for the newcomer to appear right in front of Naruto and push him away from the cage, as he was about to rip away the seal. Naruto stumbled and fell down into the water. Anger and rage leaving his eyes and mind in an instant, as shock and surprise came over. He looked upwards, to see a young blonde man, with sky blue eyes and spiky hair, dressed in a white Haori and Jonin uniform. Standing over him, extending his hand. It didn't take any time at all for Naruto to immediately recognize who that man really was. Fourth Hokage. Dad, Naruto looked up in awe, as Minato Namikaze. Fourth Hokage of Konoha, and father to Naruto smiled to him. But how and why? When I sealed the half of kyuubi-S chakra in you and the other one in Menma, I had also split my chakra evenly between you. Sealing it is a failsafe, in case one of you ever were to unleash kyuubi or the seal to be broken externally. Minato explained, as Naruto shyly accepted his hand, rising up from the waters. In your anger, Naruto, you began to unleash more and more chakra of kyuubi. If you hadn't stopped, you would died, son. I had tried to stop him, Yondaime, but your damn seal prevented me from that. So I am blaming you on this part. Kurama complained loudly at the man, making him turn to face the giant fox. I would praised your work here, Minato, but after what Naruto had went through, I would much rather rip you to shreds, along with that cursed woman and your teacher. Do you even know what they put Naruto-kun here through and what your predecessor had done to him? Because I be more than happy to explain it all in great detail. Kurama roared in fury at the man that sealed her, but Minato didn't flinch even a little bit. You don't have to tell me about it, Kyuubi. I know what they have done. Minato said to Kyuubi and Naruto, shocking them both. I watched through Naruto-S eyes and witnessed it all firsthand, and it is part of the reason why I am here now, Naruto. Minato turned to face his son, a saddened look on his face and apologetic eyes were seen by young blonde. Naruto, I know what you have been put through, all about it and even more than you think. And, while as a Hokage, I may try and understand that what had happened to you was necessary, but as your father, a loyal shinobi of Konoha and a human being, I do not. see any excuses to what they had done to you. And all because of the choice I had to make, my son. And for that, I ask for your forgiveness. I have to no excuses to offer, only the truth. Dad, what do you mean by all this? Naruto asked of him, with Minato answering to him. Naruto, when you were born and I had to seal away the kyuubi, I had a few moments left in the world and I asked of kushina to look after both you and your little brother. I also had wished for Hiruzen to inform my mother about you and your brother, so that she may help raise you, but right after I had passed away, your mother had decided to abandon you. Convinced in her grief, sorrow and delusions that kyuubi here had taken over your body and that my sealing didn't work properly, has decided to leave you in Konoha. Minato told his son with sorrow and great deal of disappointment in his voice. The woman I had loved for all my life, who had made me the happiest man in the world, I had known kushina feared kyuubi greatly. Hated it so much that it clouded her judgment at times, but to go so far as something even I couldn't see happening, nor can I forgive her for doing such a thing. Not for abandoning you, nor for how she had turned the village against you. Turned the village against me. Naruto was confused. Before she left, Kushina had informed clan heads and council of Konoha that kyuubi has Ken over your body and you were no longer her son. Minato saw the utter horror and shock on his son's face. Sandame and several others didn't believe her, but it was enough for the others, and with that, Kushina turned the entire village against you. She even offered a reward for avenging your death at the hands of kyuubi monster. Naruto simply stood there, frozen in one place and unable to do anything but think about it. His own mother, not only had she abandoned him, but she went as far as to persuade the entirety of his village to start hunting him down. She even offered to pay money for it. For killing her very own blood and son. It now explained to Naruto why the entirety of Konoha had not just hated him, but also hurt him so much, why there were the beatings, fox hunts and more. Now it made sense to him. And it only made Naruto hate his mother even more than before. Kurama saw how her favorite blonde was starting to slip into more of anger again, her eyes looking at him with great sadness and sympathy. Before she spoke up, so, Yondaime, and how would you know all of that? I remember that little meeting well, but how did you know about it? Kurama asked an obvious question. Kyuubi, I thought out of all the Biju you were the most intelligent and intellectual, or were Mito Uzumaki notes wrong? Minato smirked a little, when he saw Kyuubi's look of surprise. Just like you, I had been watching over both of my sons and I know what had been happening, since Naruto was on that council meeting with Menma in hands of Kushina. I merely stayed away from your sight, which I have to admit wasn't all that easy. Kurama simply huffed and turned away theatrically, while Minato turned back to speak to his son. Naruto, I know how angry you have every right to be furious. However, I want you to forget about it, to let it go. What? How can you ask of me to do such a thing, Dad? Konoha, all of my friends, you saw how badly they treated me, how they just spit on me and hurt me and you want me to let it all go. Do you even know what it like to? Naruto ranted at his father, who had interrupted him. I know how you feel, because I myself have been in your shoes, son. Naruto immediately stopped, looking with shock at his father. I know how you feel and what it feels like, to be left by your mother, abandoned by those that should be protecting you. Believe me, Naruto, I know how it feels like, because I had went through it myself when I was your age, when I found who my parents really were. Why you mean? Wait, why you said that? Why your mother had sent me here and the letter? Naruto had finally put the dots together. Ba-chan. Yeah, my mother, Tsunade Senju, had also abandoned me when I was an infant. Minato confirmed what Tsunade had written to Naruto. Not long after my father's death, she left me in the orphanage and disappeared. I only learned the truth when I was your age from Jiraiya, and I was furious, angrier than I had ever been. I had tracked her down and confronted her about it, but in my rage and anger I did not even realize that in my obsessive pursuit for answers, I had cost my teammates, my best friends, their lives on the mission. It opened up my eyes and revealed to me a simple truth. Rage and anger over the past will not save you, but destroy you and all that you hold dear today. I had to let go of the anger. And while it had taken a long time, my mother and I had reconciled and I forgave her. Why are you telling me this, Dad? Do you want me to what? Go back to Konoha and forget all those accusations and bad things that had happened to me? To be the same happy-go-lucky doby they all see me as? I have been banished, and if I return, I am a dead man walking then. Naruto shouted at him, with Minato taking it all in. No, Naruto, I am not asking you of that. What Konoha, Sandaime, Jiraiya, Kushina and all of the other have done to you is something I doubt even Sage of Six Paths could forgive. Minato shook his head. I do not ask you to forget it all and forgive them, no. All I am asking of you is to let go of this hatred that is inside of you, quell down your fury and move on with your life. What happened to you was wrong and atrocious, true, but let it not change who you really are and what you want to become. Naruto had seemingly calmed down and looked carefully at his father. I had once hoped that either you or Menma would become Hokage, but after all that I seen through your eyes and what had happened, I realized that this hope is beyond me now. However, what my real desire and wish was is for my son to find his own way in life, to build his own life, free of chains of anger and rage, to be happy with those closest to him and not let his past control him. That is what I ask of you. Naruto. Build your own life, but do not let the anger pave your way. Leave behind Konoha and all the nightmares it inflicted upon you, and walk towards the brighter future with no strings attached. My mother had entrusted you with the legacies of both Uzumaki and Senju, and I know that you put it to great use. So, can you do this for me, to live a life free of anger on Konoha? Naruto had listened to his father well and contemplated all that he had heard from him. And, as much as he had wanted to disagree with him because of his fury, his father was right. Leading a life in rage and anger would only result in Naruto becoming someone like Sasuke, an avenger and traitor, a person that cares nothing for the others and even his own life. And Naruto has already seen what revenge and obsession with anger has done to people, him being one of the victims of that kind of people. If he were to slip into the same kind of abyss, he would only become just like the lot of them. The same as the people he despises the most. No, Naruto didn't want that, never in his life. His mother and village may they hurt him and nearly destroyed him, but he wasn't going to become just like them, never. He would build his own life, the life away unattached to Konoha and its corruption, he rise above it and be better than Sasuke, Jiraiya and the rest of them. If it comes the time when Konoha comes to confront him, he face them and show them that he is a far better person than the rest of them, and a much greater shinobi than all of them. He will build his own shinobi path. His true shinobi way of life and prove to the world that he, Naruto Uzumaki, is not a demon, obsessed with revenge and anger, but a man and shinobi of true value and ideals. Smiling and finally letting go of his anger, Naruto looked up to his father and spoke up. I will, Dad. I do that. Naruto smiled to him, with Minato smiling back. You just wait. I build my own life and become the best shinobi out there, one that you can be proud to call your son, Dadbao. Naruto shouted in his usual way, before shutting himself up, while Minato chuckled a little bit at this. I believe you, Naruto. And I have faith in you. Minato said truthfully to Naruto, embracing his son in a fatherly hug. And I am already proud of you, more proud than I could ever be. I be looking after you, Naruto. Minato began to dissipate, drawing Naruto to tears and shock. Don't worry, Since the seal hasn't been broken, and you haven't unleashed the eight-tailed, I will remain in here for a time being. In case the fuzzball decides to try anything funny. Oi, who do you call a fuzzball? I am an intelligent and culturally attuned kitsune, you blonde monkey. Kurama shouted in indignation. Your great-grandparents were often at awe at how intellectual I am, especially that great-grandfather of yours. He even had asked me for help with that gambling of his. Hey, I believe you. Minato simply chuckled to her. Before turning back to Naruto. Naruto, take care of yourself. We LL meet again someday. I will, and thank you, father. Naruto smiled through tears to him, as Minato dissipated, leaving his son with a renewed vigor and inner fire burning within him with greater brightness than ever. Flashback end. Present day. That day had changed Naruto's life in more ways than one and had paved the way for the young blonde-s path forward. He left behind him his hatred for Konoha and any notion for revenge for them, breaking free of it all and unleashing his for the endless possibilities of the world. Don't get him wrong. What Konoha and Kushina had done to him will not be forgotten or forgiven, and there was anger about it all in Naruto, but it would never be the guiding force behind him. Oh no. Now he had much different drive for life and growing stronger, to protect his true friends and family. His father had opened his eyes to it, and Naruto will forever be grateful to him for this. Because in the end of it all, were it not for his words, he wouldn't have Kurama, Yugito, Matabi, Yusaka and Masamune. So, instead of letting his anger sip through him, Naruto pushed it away and simply looked at the Konoha shinobi and spoke up. Protect him. Is he a babe that needs to be fed and changed from his diapers? Naruto could clearly see anger in the eyes of his biological mother. If memory serves me correctly, he is about 21 years old, a grown man by all standards. A shame that Naruto did not live to that age. That brought a surprise reaction from everyone. Especially from Kakashi, Hinata, Kurenai, Sasuke, Sakura and Kushina. You knew Naruto? Kushina asked of Hanzo in a surprisingly quiet and even desperate voice. Why you knew my son? Bullshit. How come you could knew of the Dobi? I mean, he has been dead for over 6 years now or close to that. Kiba barked out, ignoring the glares from Hinata and Kurenai. And he was banished over 7 years ago. Was he not? Naruto asked of them. They met in Land of Sand, not long before his death. A true tragedy, such a good-natured boy, with so much light and hopes, all crushed by the people he considered his friends and comrades. A shame he had perished. You could say he had changed my life in several ways. Naruto saw several looks of sadness from Kushina, Kurenai, Hina, Ta and some looks of shame from the others, while the rest weren't taken by all of this. He did tell me what had happened to him in Konoha, and how it treated him, and let me tell you this much, like hell will I go work for the village that can see the difference between an innocent child, a victim of his mother delusions, and a monster that needs to be stopped. Now, if you are quite finished, I suggest you get your sorry assess off my property before I kick them out of here. And tell that perverted frog of a Sannin to stop hiding. I could smell his stench from Kumo. Naruto glared at the tree, from which hopped out Jiraiya. Slightly older looking, but also considerably more annoyed at what Hanzo had told him. You have quite a foul mouth, Aaron tu. Do you even know who you just insulted? Jiraiya said in a prideful manner. I am the sage of Mount Myoboku, the wet dream of all ladies from east to west and I don't give a damn. Naruto simply cut him off, looking at them all. Now, you said what you want. Or is there another reason why are you here? Hanzo-san, please reconsider. Konoha council is ready to offer you a very substantial reward for your services in money. And you will also be granted a compound of your own for you and your family within Konoha wall. Kushina decided to press on. All we ask of you is to help us destroy the Akatsuki and protect our village from them. In return, in addition to all of the above, you LL be granted a citizenship of Konoha, status of Jonin and more. You LL even be permitted to become a shinobi of Konoha and EV. Be recognized as a head of your own clan, when you decide to establish one. In other words, you want me to come to Konoha and destroy Akatsuki, and in return, I LL be what? Made into one of your Jonins. With compound and rights of a clan head. Naruto raised an eyebrow at them all, with Kushina and Jiraiya nodding to him. Do you take me for an idiot? I know that your village has seen it s better days and that Iwa and Kumo are eyeing up for a rematch for the past wars, not to mention your alliance with Suna is long over and they are with Iwa and Kiri. And let s not forget that there is also the issue of Otogakure and Orochimaru still being at large after so many years after the invasion. Even with all the clans, talented shinobi, sanins, former and current Jinchuriki of Kyuubi, Noa Dosen T stand a chance if all those forces decided to descend upon you all. And your solution to this problem? Start recruiting Ronins, shinobi without a crime record and any allegiances to other villages, mercenaries and hired blades. People that have seen blood and tasted war. And right at the top of that list is me, the man with the list of killed enemies ranging from a tyrant Oda Nobunaga to Jinchuriki of 5 tails and his beast. None of the Konoha shinobi had retorted otherwise, knowing that all of what Hanzo Hattori has said was true. Konoha really was in a desperate position, having lost not only one of its Jinchuriki, but now being literally surrounded from all sides by its enemies, all eyeing up for a rematch. According to Anbu intelligence, a new war might happen in in 2 to 4 years from now on, and Konoha needed desperately to gain back its prestige and power. Having lost almost the entirety of Uchiha clan had greatly diminished the power of Konoha initially, and even if Sasuke were to breed with women now, Konoha wouldn't have any Sharingan users capable of fighting anytime soon, not in 12 years at minimum. They needed strong and powerful shinobi now, and no matter how talented and promising today generations were, nothing beat an experienced veteran of war and battles. And out of everyone out there, Hanzo was at the top of the list, with skill set, experience, expertise and proficiency in so many areas of shinobi arts, that he was seen like a second coming of Tobirama Senju no less. If he were to join Konoha, Iwa and Kumo would immediately back down. And Suna with Kiri would be far more open to negotiations, given the fact of Hanzo's close ties with Mizukage and Kazekage. And all the while Hanzo talked, Hinata Hyuga looked very closely at the man. Unable to turn her gaze away from him. She couldn't explain it in any way, but something seemed strangely familiar and so close to her that she couldn't even put her mind to it. It was like Hinata was looking at the closest person from her past that suddenly appeared, only he looked completely and utterly different from before, but the feelings, it was just as if she was once again looking at him. Putting a little faith in her heart and feelings, she activated her Byakugan and looked closely at Hanzo. Hyuga clan was known for their ability to see chakra clearly, but also to remember its signature, its uniqueness and distinguish from all the others. And now, Hinata, who had spent years looking and following her love, the boy that gave her the courage to go forward, widened her eyes at see his chakra and words escaped her lips. She couldn't believe her own eyes, as her Naruto Uzumaki stood right in front of them all. Naruto K-kun. Those words had drawn the universal attention from everyone. With looks of confusion and surprise on everyone, including Hanzo. Naruto-kun. It really is you. Why you are alive and you are here. Why you are Hanzo H. Hattori, ha. D. Naruto not mastered the ability to control his emotions, he would widened his eyes at this, while all of Konoha shinobi were flabbergasted at what Hinata had said just now. What? Naruto is Hanzo? Hinata. What are you blabbering about? How can that dead monster be the man that stands right here? Sakura shrieked at Hinata's statement. Naruto Baka had those messy blonde hair, that hideous orange jumpsuit, and couldn't sit idly for a bloody second. Hell, had he been Naruto, he wouldn't think twice and ask me for a date, for crying out loud. Yeah, I have to agree with Sakura on this one, Hinata. Naruto was a total idiot, and this guy looks much more like someone who knows his stuff. Tenten added up, looking at Hanzo. Heck, that guy has the specially crafted Ronin armor from Tets. You know, Kuni on him and 2 chakra katanas on him. Our Naruto didn't even know how to use a kunai properly. Wow, I know I was bad, but that was just cold, Tenten. Naruto thought to himself for a second, before turning his gaze back to Hinata. Still, I should remembered that those of Hyuga clan are capable of identifying a shinobi by his chakra signature, and given the fact of Hinata observing me for years, she must been able to recognize me. Damn it. Let s hope that Neji doesn't get any ideas, or Akamaru here doesn't recognize me by scent. Oh no. Tenten, I wouldn't be so sure, to be honest with you, Shikamaru suddenly spoke up. Clan Hyuga is known for their Byakugan, and through it they can identify anyone whom they know, even if he has changed his looks. And we all know that Hinata here has spent a long time looking at Naruto, so. Pardon me, but you do realize that I am still here. Naruto drew back their attention. I don't know what this all about me being your dead friend or something. But here is my final word. Get out of here, or Akatsuki will be the last thing you worrying about here. Hanzo already put his hand upon the blade and everyone got into the fighting position again. And no. Please, Naruto-kun, Hinata had tried to plead to him, but she was cut off by him. For the love of, girl, you are mistaken. I am not your. It really is you, Naruto. Suddenly, came the voice of Neji Hyuga, his Byakugan showing fully as he looked at Naruto. Hinata-sama is correct. The man before us is Naruto Uzumaki, not Hanzo Hattori. During the Chunin exams, I have memorized your chakra signature and I could never forget it, so don't try to deny it, Naruto. This statement immediately had brought out a look of shock from everyone, as they all turned to face the man in question. Kurenai, Kushina, Hinata and even Jiraiya with Kakashi were looking at Naruto with hopeful eyes, bordering that of desperation, while Kiba, Sasuke, Rock Lee, Neji, Sakura and Ino had the eyes of dangerous curiosity and disgust. The others simply adopted the look of seriousness and were expecting to see whatever was underneath the face guard. Naruto looked at T.H.M. with the narrowed eyes for a little bit, before sighing, understanding that they wouldn't get off his if he didn't satisfy their curiosity, and even then they wouldn't stop. But, if they really wanted to proceed down that way, they were welcome to try, considering that he was still legally banished and couldn't return under the threat of death. For once, he was actually glad that Council of Konoha had done as it did. Pulling his hand away from the blade, he raised it up to his face guard and pulled it down. Everyone looked in shock and surprise at seeing the new face of their former comrade and now banished Konoha shinobi. No longer any fatness was visible upon it, whiskers were gone without a trace, while sharpness has been visible upon Naruto's face. It was no longer the face of an idiotic knuckle-headed blonde Naruto Uzumaki, but a face of a truly grown-up handsome man and a shinobi that could put to shame many. While not verbally, mentally Tenten, Ino and even Sakura had to add it that this new look of Naruto was not just good, but dashing and gorgeous, even if they would never publicly say it. Sasuke, Kiba, Neji, Rock Lee, Sakura and Tenten looked with shock, but also with the immediate scowl. Followed by Asuma and Might Guy. The looks of shock and surprise came over faces of Kushina, Jiraiya, Hinata and most prominently, Kurenai, who couldn't even hold back her tears at seeing him. Deciding to finally break the silence, Naruto spoke up. Neji, just for the clarification, Hanzo Hattori is Naruto Uzumaki. I didn't impersonate him, but created him from the scratch. Though now I am starting to think I was a bit too good at this. Naruto simply looked at his former comrades, friends and mother with an impassive look. Now, I would say that it has been a long time, but really. I wish I didn't have to see most of you here for another 2 lifetimes. And some of you I would really like to give a piece of my mind and steal for what they had done to me. Naruto said, gazing at Kushina, Kakashi, Jiraiya, Sasuke and Sakura in particular. Gaki, damn, Gaki, it really is you. Sweet Kami, I almost didn't recognize you there, with all the black hair and no whiskers. Jiraiya shouted out in joy and was already moving towards Naruto, but he was immediately stopped by an instantaneous and powerful wave of killing intent coming from Naruto. Hey, Naruto, what all this key is about? Why you Aaron happy to see me? Should I? Last time we met, you said that I am a major disappointment of your precious village and that 4th Hokage and 3rd Hokage would be appalled at what I did. Naruto reminded Jiraiya, who had stopped in his tracks and recalled, a look of shame coming over his face. I guess my godfather would know better, considering that he trained the same 4th Hokage. AKA Minato Namikaze, my father. Only guess what? My father wasn't disappointed in me, far from it. Why you already know why your father is? Jiraiya asked of Naruto, with simply scoffed at him. Oh, I know all about him, as well as the woman right in front of me. And don't even get me started on what you and that old bastard of a Hokage have done to me. Naruto narrowed his eyes at Jiraiya, who eyes widened as he realized what Naruto was talking about. Memory alteration seals, and not just 1 but 3 of them, right upon my mind. Tell me, were you trying to make me a mental retard? Or did you just enjoy mind raping me with that old dust bag? Naruto, I had not what why you think I it was. We had no other choice. Kyuubi was starting to INF. Luance Yuan, Jiraiya had tried to defend himself. Don give me this load of crap. You are a level 8 sealing master, and you knew that my 8 trigram seal was safe and not weakened. You altered my memories not because of Kyuubi, but because it was convenient and handy for both of you, especially considering that I had found out quite a few of your dirty secrets, like one about this woman right here. Naruto looked at Kushina, who looked with desperation at Naruto. So, Kushina Uzumaki, happy to finally see your firstborn son. Any words to share? Not that it would matter in the grand scheme of things. Sochi, please. I know that what I had done was horrible, but please, you have to understand that Kushina had tried to explain herself, but she immediately cut off by Naruto. Believed I was possessed by Kyuubi because of my father mistake and had to abandoned by you, while also becoming a prime target for the entire village to kill. Naruto saw the look of shock and tears upon her. Kushina, you are an Uzumaki and level 10 sealing mistress, not to mention a former Jinchuriki of Kyuubi. For you to distinguish a caged fox from an unleashed one is a matter of simple careful glance, but no. You merely assumed that I was possessed and that was it for you. Do you even know how many times I have been sent to hospital, before I turned 3 years old? I was not just hunted down by villagers, but bloody Genins, Chunins and Jonins, hell 2 of the Jonin here had tried to take my head here, all because of you. Naruto turned his gaze at Might Guy and Asuma Sarutobi. Isn't that right, Guy, Asuma? With Guy it self-explanatory, but with you, Asuma, that heen of yours nearly sliced my head off my shoulders back then. I still don't understand what did Kurena. Ioni-chan had found in someone like you. Kurenai widened her eyes and her mouth was agape at hearing what she did. Oni-chan, Naruto, oh my little bundle of joy, you Vey remembered. You remember again, wait. Asuma, Hunt, Heen, Slice, Kurenai joyful thoughts immediately turned to one of murder as she glared at Asuma Sarutobi right there. Asuma, did I hear that right? You had partaken in fox hunts and nearly killed Naruto. Asuma shuddered when he met the murderous gaze of his former girlfriend. I didn't know any better, and I thought that he really was a kyuubi and, Asuma had tried to defend himself. Before realizing something and turning back to Naruto. Wait, how do you remember? When I saw you last, you didn't remember any of it in. Details are not important, what is important is the fact that you used the girl that had adopted me to get close and claim the prize. I believe your exact words were, not only do I get to avenge our fourth Hokage, but those 15 million ryo will also be mine. So you better stand still so I can slice you clean, demon. Naruto recalled, seeing how Asuma paled instantly at this one, while his former team and some others had tea. He looks of shock and even disgust on them. I may been 4 at the time, but I still recall how that blade had nearly cut off my hand when I tried to reach for a kunai to defend myself. Thank Kamien. Ko-ne-chan got back from mission early and decided to stop by. So that sy she, Asuma. I ll murder you for what you had done to him. Kurenai was really livid and was quite ready to kill Asuma right at this moment. But she was stopped by Kakashi who stood between them. Step away, Hitaki. This man, this bastard, not only did he cheat on me, but he used me to kill my adopted son right here. I should never trusted him nor his bastard of a father, so you better bloody step away from me, before I kill you on sight. Kurenai, calm yourself. Don you see that you are not in the right mind right now. Kakashi simply asked of her, with Kurenai not backing down. Guy-sensei, is what Naruto says, is this true? Why you really tried to kill him? Tenten asked in shock, realizing just at a horrible thing her sensei had tried to do. Yes, Tenten, it is true. Guy admitted, shocking most around him. There was the time when I had tried to end the unyouthful existence of a demon within the walls of our youthful village. For he was plaguing the shinobi and civilians alike with deception and deceit, and as a youthful beautiful green beast of Konoha, it was my duty to end its existence. Before it had plagued even more people. Guy said in his usual manner. And I had nearly succeeded, had the fox not unleashed his unyouthful foul power and drawn attention from the corrupted Anbu. But I swore upon fourth grave and my own honor, that I would eventually end this monster, one way or another, for I am the youthful green beast of Konoha, might Guy. Oh, Guy-sensei, you are absolutely right. Naruto had always used foul play and cheated, so he must be a true unyouthful demon. Let us vanquish him together, and if I fail I shall do 10,000 push-ups with just one pinky and 100 laps around Land of Fire. Rock Lee immediately agreed with his sensei, which drew shocked expressions from Tenten, Kurenai, Hinata and some others. Well, if you wish, I welcome you two to try. Only you have to be running those laps in hell, Lee, because if you attack me, I be more than happy to send you straight in there. Naruto warned him and the others, turning to Kurenai. And Kurenai Oni-chan, while I would enjoy you killing this guy right here, best not to do it. I wouldn't want to see you or Anko Ne-chan becoming Nuke Nin for no good reason. Better if I take his head off, if you do not mind. One be the first Sarutobi I killed, nor a first Konoha shinobi. Naruto let out a dry chuckle, seeing the shock and a bit of fear in the eyes of his former comrades. Naruto, had I not known you, I would assumed you were threatening us here. Kakashi suddenly spoke up to him. You know that making such baseless threats is really showing off your unintelligence, right? After all, even if you had left the village, no true Konoha shinobi would kill his own kind, even if he was under a different name. And I know that you are not a murderer, Naruto. And who's ate anything about it being baseless threats, Hatake? Naruto asked him with a deadpan voice. I have been banished, all of my property and money stolen because of false charges, the people I thought were friends turned on me in a blink of an eye, not to mention that I received more injuries and been closer to death within Konoha more times than I was out in the field. And did I mention how my D was altered just so I could stay docile, dumb knucklehead? By all accounts and means, I they got more reasons to wish death upon Konoha than Madara and 3rd Tsuchikage combined. And as for that last part of yours, 3 years ago, on borders between Land of Wind and Land of Stone, a group of Konoha shinobi numbering 27 Chunin and Jonin had been tasked with intercepting Kazekage and his escort, Pr. Preventing the talks between him and Tsuchikage from happening. The orders were to either stall, or to kill on sight. Nobody returned, and 5 days later, their bodies were brought back on a cart by a villager from Land of Rivers, whom I paid good money to get their bodies back to their families, along with a warning, remember? Naruto let out a small smirk at a sight of shock coming over most of the shinobi out here, who realized that he was the man behind the infamous River S massacre, one of the worst recent defeats of Konoha, when all participating shinobi were brought back, all dead, brutally murdered, and some barely even recognizable. It was assumed at first that this was the work of Akatsuki, someone like Itachi Uchiha, or it was a team of Kiri Anbu. But, to hear that Naruto Uzumaki, who had always sprouted around that he was going to become a Hokage and was considered to be the dead last of their generation, had actually gone and killed all of them, his fellow village shinobi. In cold blood and without mercy, it was a hard pill to swallow, and many couldn't even believe it to be true. Dobi, do you expect us here to believe you? It is common knowledge that it was my brother who had killed them back there, having taken a contract from Kazekage. Sasuke retorted to Naruto. You may look different, but you are nothing more but a dead last, whom you always be, no matter what. Yeah, Sasuke-kun is right. You are just an annoying little pest that can compete with real shinobi like us here. You probably just changed your looks so that you can look cooler and try to get me to fall for you. But it won't work. Sakura shouted at Naruto, who looked at her with a, are you shitting me, look. Good Kami, was I really that dumb to have a crush on? Oh, right, I was that dumb. Naruto mentally sighed before speaking up. Sakura, I don't know what has given you that idea, but let me assure you of something. I traveled all over the elemental nations for over 7 years and have seen many beautiful women and girls, and compared to them, you are like those frogs Kasama Sanin here fantasizes about in his sleep. And as for the change in looks, I have an S-rank nuke nin organization after my head, plus you Konoha idiots wouldn't let me live in peace, not to bloody mention me holding a kyuubi inside me, so I needed to make a couple of changes, in order to survive and not become a prime target for all world to take. So, those reports from Gaara, Tamari and Kankuro about your death at the hands of Suna S nuke nins were false. But they brought back your corpse. Lady Tsunade and Shizune personally have examined it and confirmed it was you. Shikamaru stated to Naruto in shock, who merely smirked. We had mourned your death, Naruto. We buried your body and Konoha had the biggest celebrations since its founding, which lasted for 2 days without end, I hear. Naruto added up. As for that corpse, you would be bloody surprised what a dead blonde genin of my age, a skilled Iryo nin and a special seal can be used for. Gaara was more than happy to provide for the first 2, while the last I done on my own. What better way to disappear than to die? And after that, it was only a matter of dyeing my hair black, since it s the most common color on the planet for hair, changing the hairdo, and getting rid of whiskers through a very precise and a little bit discomforting operation, but damn if it was worth it. What a drag, you clever bastard, To think that Choji and I were crying over a fake corpse. Do you even know how bloody painful it was for us all? Hinata. Kurenai-sensei. Enko, your mother you vey broken so many hearts with that stunt. Hell, Lady Tsunade and Shizune were openly crying over that damn coffin during the procession. Have you thought about what it would do to us? Shikamaru screamed at him. We know what we said was wrong on many levels, and we were sorry, but that was just cruel and horrible. Shikamaru, just because you, Choji and some others among you realized what you vey done dosen t excuses you, nor grants you forgiveness. Naruto stated coldly. Now, enough about all of this. I am technically banished from Konoha and can t return, so me going back would be signing up my own death warrant, and according to my punishment, I can t go back under any circumstances, so. Actually, Naruto, the Council of Konoha has withdrawn that punishment from you upon the return of Kushina and Menma back in Konoha, pardoning you of any and all crimes. Jiraiya chimed in, getting a curious eye from Naruto. Now, given the fact of you still being a son of 4th Hokage, a Jinchuriki of Kyuubi, and a citizen of Konoha, there is no way we can let a prodigal boy like you continue to stray away from his home any longer. Plus, if you come back, then maybe Tsunade'll finally forgive me and I can be allowed in Konoha once more. In other words, I am either coming along with you peacefully, or you and this cavalcade of double standards and nut jobs will take me there by force, is that it? Naruto wasn't sugar coating in any way. Well, when you put it like that, I guess none of us here has any other choices. We were ordered by Lady Hokage to get Hanzo Hattori no matter what, and since you're him, there is no way we are coming back without you. Kakashi simply stated lazily to Naruto. But in all seriousness, Naruto, do you really think that you can take us all here down? Can you really bring yourself to strike us, your own mother included? Naruto simply blinked at him before turning to Hinata and Kurenai. Hinata-chan, Kurenai Oni-chan, you two have been there for me when I needed it the most. For that, you have my eternal gratitude. Naruto spoke to the truthfully. Because of that, I ask of you to please walk away from here. My quarrel is not with you, but with the rest of them, and should you remain in here, I will not be holding any responsibility for what you may witness. I have no desire to fight you or to harm you in any way, so I ask of you to walk away. Kurenai and Hinata looked at him surprised, before Hinata and Kurenai both nodded to him and decided to follow Naruto's advice. Using Shunshin to get out there, shocking the rest of the shinobi here. Hey, what the hell was that? Why do those two get a pass and we don't? Ino shouted at him. And are you really that dumb that you think you can take us all by yourself? Sasuke-kun and all of us here will tear you a new one in no time. Gaki, you really have done it now, Jiraiya said it simply. Minato, I hope you can forgive this idiot of a son of yours, wherever you are now. Suddenly a large dome appeared right above Naruto, his house and the area surrounding it, not surprising Naruto. Did you think we would let you escape in any way from here? This barrier will not allow anyone to leave this area, no matter how strong, fast or powerful they are. You are now stuck here with us, Naruto. Best if you surrender now, before it becomes ugly. Kusama Sanin, do you think I wasn't counting on this? Naruto asked of him in a dangerously calm way, placing his hand on his left katana and taking out. You think that I am stuck here with you? No, it a complete opposite. Naruto put S on his face guard and readies his katana. It s you who are stuck here with me. And with a flash of black and red, the battle starts.